your light green yarn and attach it to your hook, and then chain 25. When you have your chain of 25, instead of working in the front loops, we'll be working into the back loops, starting from the second back loop from the hook. All we're doing is single crocheting into each back loop until you get all the way to the end. Here's the last back loop and our last single crochet. Next, chain 1, turn your work over, and then single crochet into the back loop. When you get to the end, instead of working into the last back loop, instead you're going to single crochet into both loops. And that's only for the last stitch of the row. So continuing the pattern, chain 1, flip your work, and then single crochet into each back loop, except for the very last one, you'll single crochet into both loops. And there's the last stitch. So instead of only the back loop, insert your hook under both loops. Chain 1 and continue until you have 60 rows completed. So here 60 rows have been completed, and this is the brim of the hat. The reason we started with 25 chains is so that we could flip the brim up. Next, chain 1, and then put the two sides together, line up the stitches, and then insert the hook into the front loop on each side and slip stitch. So locate the next two sets of stitches, inserting into the front loop of both, yarning over and pulling all the way through to complete a slip stitch. Continue this all the way down the row. Here the brim is complete, and you can see where we've joined. And here's the brim folded up. Next, we will begin working on the body of the hat. So I'm just going to show where I'll be inserting my hook for the next row in these spaces right here. So to begin the next row, chain 1, and then all we're doing is single crocheting all the way around until we have 60 stitches. And then to complete, slip stitch into that first stitch, chain 1, For the next row, we will begin with our increases. So for each stitch, single crochet until we get to the 5th stitch. So here's 4, and in the next stitch, single crochet 2 times. So we have 6 stitches now, and repeat that. So we have 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th stitch, single crochet 2 times. And continue this all the way around. Here I've completed the 2nd round. And we've gone from 60 stitches in the previous row to 72 stitches. The next row we will begin using a waistcoat stitch. So instead of working into the top V's of the stitch, we're actually going to be inserting our hook through each stitch. So here you can see the 2 posts of a stitch, and just inserting straight through and then out through the other side through the other 2 posts. So here's another example. Here's the 2 posts in the front, inserting your hook right through it, and here it is coming out the back. I have included a visual of the tree pattern, and this chart should be read from right to left and bottom to top. The first row with all of the light green stitches is the row we did previous, which is the row that did the increases. Now we're starting with the 2nd row going right to left. If you locate that yellow arrow, so we have 7 stitches of light green before we switch to brown yarn for the tree trunk. So here I have 4 stitches. Here's 5. And here is 6. Now that we have 6 stitches completed, the 7th stitch will be a little different because we will need to attach the brown yarn. So for the 7th stitch, we will start with the light green. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then grab the brown yarn, and we will finish the stitch using the brown yarn. So here I'm just kind of holding the tail with my right hand. The light green yarn is kind of staying towards the left. Pull up that brown yarn, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops, and then tighten that light green yarn just a little bit. Continue holding on to that brown yarn. We'll continue with 3 stitches using the brown yarn. So here's 1. Make sure to keep that light green yarn going along with you so we can easily switch back to it. So here's 2 stitches complete. Now that we know we'll have to switch back to green, we're going to start with the brown. Here I've pulled up a brown loop, yarn over with that light green to finish that stitch, And there's our 3 brown stitches. And then we can continue with the light green, while also carrying that brown yarn along with us. This hat will have 4 trees in total, so once you finish the 18th stitch, go back to the right side of the pattern and complete it again another 3 times. Alright, here we have 18 stitches complete, which means a quarter of this row is done. And here I just want to show where we attach the brown yarn and how we're carrying that yarn with us. And then here we are finishing that second row by slip stitching. And we're still carrying the brown yarn with us. And row 3 is exactly like row 2. So we start with 7 light green stitches, and then we'll switch to the brown. And here I'm just showing again how I am switching the colors of the yarn. Once you've completed row 3 4 times, so you have 4 tree trunks now, just go ahead and cut that brown yarn because you do not need it anymore. And here all of my tree trunks are completed. Next we will begin row 4, which will introduce the dark green yarn. So we'll start with 2 light green stitches, and then halfway through that second stitch attach the dark green yarn. So here I've kind of pulled it through, and then I'm going to drop that tail down and then hold on to that tail. Pull the light green yarn just a little bit. Here I'm holding on to that dark green yarn. And now just continue with the dark green stitches. So just looking at the pattern, we will be completing 13 of the dark green stitches before switching back to the light green for 3 more stitches. And here we have 18 stitches complete. Do that 3 more times to finish row 4. And then row 5, continue with the pattern. So we have 3 light green stitches. And then we'll have 11 dark green stitches. and then 4 light green stitches. And just like before, row 5 will be completed 4 times because we have 4 trees on our hat. Here I am fast forwarding up to row 14, where I have 3 dark green stitches in this row. And we are almost done with the tree part of the hat. Now we're done with the dark green yarn, so we're just going to cut that. And then for row 16, continue with all light green stitches. Once you finish row 16, the body of the hat is finished. We will now work on the top part of the hat. This section will begin the decreases. We will no longer be using the waistcoat stitch, so insert the hook back into the top V of the stitch. So to begin, single crochet into each stitch until you get to stitch 5 and 6. So here's 2, here's 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 will be a decrease. So insert your hook into stitch 5, pull up a loop, and then insert into stitch 6, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And repeat that. So here is 1 single crochet, here's 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 will be together, so insert your hook into 5 and 6, pulling up a loop in each, yarning over and pulling through all 3 loops. Continue that all the way around. Slip stitch to complete that round. And then for the next row, all we're doing is single crocheting into each stitch. Except now we have 60 stitches instead of 72. For the next row, we will be doing another decrease. So here's 1 single crochet, here's 2, here's 3, and then 4 and 5 will be together. And repeat that. 1 single crochet, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 will be together. Continue that all the way around. The next row will just be another row of single crochets. And then here, because of the decreases, you can see the top starting to form. The next row will be another row of decreases. So here's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then 3 and 4 will be together. Here's 3, here's 4, and repeat that all the way around. The row following that will be just a row of single crochets. The next row will be another decrease, so 1 single crochet, and then 2 and 3 will be together. 1 single crochet, and then 2 and 3 will be together. Next row is another row of single crochets. For the next row, we will be crocheting 1 and 2 together. And then the last row will be a row of single crochets. Cut the yarn, leaving a long tail, and attach it to a tapestry needle and just weave it through each stitch on that last row and then pull it tight. Weave in those ends, add a poof to it if you would like, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. See you next time.